Hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 14.
Yes.
14 of Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer. How are you, Bestie?
I'm doing amazing. How are you, Tom?
I'm good. This is your second live stream show today, isn't it?
Yeah. Just batch them all together. Just feel all the love. I mean, we have an amazing audience. We have amazing LinkedIn friends. We just have the best support system ever. So, my goodness, thank you, everyone.
Yes, thank you, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer with Sohn and Kara Oelker. We created this show as a safe space where, just like that, where cancer survivors and cancer supporters come together to share their stories and connect, as well as find resources for healing, hope, and resilience. I am Sohn, a 15-year cancer survivor, Kara's bestie, main host of Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer, co-host of the Tim and Jim Show, and a live stream show and virtual event creator, producer, and coach. And now I'm going to turn it over to my bestie, Kara Oelker.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us. Please let us know where you're tuning in from and what your connection is to cancer. We appreciate you being here, all of you, whether you've been here every single episode or you're just tuning in. We appreciate you. And we want this to be a conversation. We also encourage you to connect with each other in the chat. We love it because oftentimes it's like a water cooler. Everyone just shows up and starts talking. So just keep that rolling. And with that, my name is Kara Oelker. I am a personal power coach, the host of Deep in Roots podcast that airs every Tuesday at 2 p.m. And yes. I'm also one of the many amazing co-hosts on The Gamer's Den. And I'm a brander, and I'm also just lucky to be a co-host to this main host, Tim Sohn.
And I'm lucky to have you as the co-host to this main host, Tim Sohn. So thank you, everyone, again for being here. Tonight, we are excited to have a conversation with Lori Baker-Schena, who is a two-time cancer survivor of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma as well as breast cancer. And I'm so excited for this show. I know I speak for both of us, Kara, when just after our pre-interview, we were both, after the interview, we were just like impacted in different ways. And let's bring her on. I'm excited for this conversation.
Oh my gosh.
I'll do the drum roll.
Hey.
High-tech drum roll. Welcome.
So great. It's so great to be here. It's so wonderful to be with you, the both of you. You're just two lovely, amazing lights in this world. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
You are a light in this world, and you are lit up. You are glowing over there.
Lighting. And my filter. No, I'm teasing. Thank you.
All of that love in the 70s we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Say that again?
All that love in the 70s we were talking about earlier.
In the 70s. The 70s is a great time to be alive, I'll tell you. And that makes you glow when you think about those good times, you know. It also feels good when you're feeling good and you're healthy, and that's where I'm at right now, which is a great feeling. So it's good to be here. It's just great to be here and be here. So.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yes. So Kara, let's go over to the comments and see who is showing up to support Lori tonight and support each other.
Alrighty, we have all these amazing people.
Mary, oh my gosh, Mary. Hey.
Hi, Mary.
I'm going to see you in a few weeks in San Diego.
Oh.
It's great to see you.
Nice. Hi,
Welcome.
Mary. Nice to meet you. Lagia.
Shout out
Hey,
to Costa
Lagia.
Rica. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lagia, for tuning into this show because you were amazing and tuned into Deep and Roots podcast earlier. So thank you. And same with you, Mark Ingstar. Greetings to you all from New Zealand. What time? Oh, it's the afternoon. My goodness. And Mark Kageyama, he was episode number 9 and told his amazing story to everyone and was in this amazing space with us. So thank you. Hello, peoples. And Diane Jackson, she will be in a couple episodes. So hello from Toronto.
Looking forward to that conversation.
Oh, yeah. Tracy, Leanne Price.
Hey, Tracy. Love you too, baby. Tracy is a fellow cancer survivor.
Oh, so, wow.
Welcome,
Thank
Tracy.
You. Thanks for joining
Be part of my support group.
Awesome. So glad you're here, Tracy.
And Gracie Ruth Melendez. Hello.
We have Tracy and Gracie. They rhyme.
And your sister.
My sister's here?
Hold on.
Hey, sis.
Aww.
Welcome, Eileen.
With the picture of your new best friend, the puppy.
It's Riley. Everybody shout out to Riley.
Love it. And oh yes, Lagia wants to say thank you for being here and sharing with us.
It's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to really sharing my insight and hopefully inspiring all of you out there listening that there is some good stuff that can be taken from all this craziness that is cancer.
Yes. And 2 more comments. One is from Melody. Hello from Massachusetts. Melody,
hi, Melody.
We just appreciate you being here every episode. Hello. And also, Senior Payasada, you're going to see a lot of interesting comments from him, and they make you giggle. At least they make me giggle. And one more, though. Paulinda Schimmel. Love it.
And Paulinda is a tremendous supporter of ovarian cancer research, and she's a light. So,
oh wow!
Welcome, Paulinda.
Her daughter died of ovarian cancer, and she has a foundation. So she's amazing and a very good friend.
My goodness, Paulinda. I hope it's okay if I end up just wanting to connect with you and just say hello human to human. So thank you so much for joining us. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for
you have a global reach there. Up. Very nice. Very nice.
I do. Thank you. So Lori, before experiencing cancer firsthand as a survivor, you lost your mom to cancer when you were 11. How did you find out, and how did that not only shape your life, but your approach to health and overall wellness? Would you share that with us?
Absolutely. It's interesting when someone asks you what was the most traumatic or challenging event in your life. It was easy for me to have that answer. When I was 11, I think I just turned 12, August 4th, 1970. I'm 63 now, so I was just turned 12. My mother passed away from ovarian cancer. And in those days, no one talked about cancer. It was something that just, you never heard the word. It was the culture that you never talked about it, and this sort of thing. So what happened was my mother she was 49. When she was 48, she was diagnosed. And treatment in those days was so raw and so primitive. They would blast what they called cobalt radiation just at her pelvis. And it was just horrible. And then she blew up, like her stomach blew up, and she would be throwing up all the time. It was bad. But no one told me that she was sick with cancer. They just said that she was going through some treatment, and they never said that she was dying, or they never said that she had cancer. So the last time she was hospitalized, I came in to see her, and I gave her a kiss and said goodbye. And then 2 days later, she was gone. And I had no idea that she was going to die, and I had no idea she had cancer. So that lack of closure, that lack of knowledge really devastated me, because I knew they were doing that because they wanted to protect me, and I was young, and people just didn't talk about it. But at the end of the day, though, it really was damaging, because to this day, there's things I would have liked to have told my mom, and 51 years later, it still hangs. And I've been through therapy. I think therapy is really important. They put a chair out and said, if this was your mother, what would you say? And that's very helpful for when I was growing up in my teen years and everything. But at the end of the day, the biggest lesson I learned was you have to be transparent with the ones you love about having a chronic disease, because while you think you're protecting them from bad news, you're really robbing them of the opportunity to be with you truly mindfully, and to realize these are very precious days, because we take each other for granted all the time. I mean, it's just human nature, especially when you're a little kid. You'd think mom and dad will be here all the time, and they're not going to be here. And so that was a huge learning lesson to me that I've carried with me. And that's why I'm very transparent, because especially when it comes to health, because it's important for people to know what's going on. And there's no blame there, I don't blame anybody. It was the culture of the day. But I certainly did not repeat that with my children when I was diagnosed.
Yeah, it's an acknowledgement and redirect.
Absolutely.
And that is, I'm sure that took a long time for you to get there, but the fact that you got there is beautiful, and such a gift you could have given to yourself and your kids and your loved ones.
Thank you. It's tough. It's a tough thing. I think we'll probably go over this later, but one of the things that is the toughest when you are diagnosed with cancer is telling people around you that you have cancer, because you don't want anyone to feel bad for you. You don't want anyone to be hurt. And yet that is a natural occurrence that happens. And especially you don't want to tell your kids, because you know how scared they're going to be and how worried they're going to be. And as a parent, you never want to scare or worry your kids. But not telling them is even harder, because you're really, again, robbing them of the chance to get close, to understand, to see your struggles, to be there for your struggles, to really be part of that whole experience. And so that's why the minute I found out I had cancer the first time around, my whole family knew immediately. I mean, it just was, it was just boom. It was like nanoseconds.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wow. And speaking of that, you are a 2-time cancer survivor of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and breast cancer. First, would you share when you were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and a bit about your journey around that?
Well, that was the crazy journey. My mother had died of ovarian cancer. My sister actually died of breast cancer when she was 54. And my brother, who had cerebral palsy, went on his autopsy. He died when he was 56 of pneumonia. They found liver cancer. So I'm sitting there, I'm the youngest of the family, and I'm thinking, my dad never had cancer. He lived till he was 92. He had Alzheimer's later, but he was very healthy. But I figured in the back of my mind, I don't know, there's a good chance that someday I might have cancer. But I didn't have any. I took all the genetic tests. I don't have the BRCA gene, which is so wild. So there's more to life than just genetic things. Things are in our water. I have no idea what's going on. But anyway, so I'm going along in my life. I'm 55 years old. I'm a university professor. I'm running my marketing business. And I get these really horrific stomach pains, and I start throwing up, and it doesn't help. And it feels like I'm dying. And I went to the ER in late 2012, and they did a CT scan, couldn't find anything, sent me home. And I said, okay. Then 6 months later, I had a night out, and all of a sudden I had that same feeling, came home, throwing up, sicker than a dog, took myself to the ER because I didn't want to, I didn't want to, bother anybody. And they actually took a CT scan with contrast, and they found an obstruction in my small bowel, which they had not seen before. So they decided they want to know if I had ever had any kind of surgery, because a lot of scar tissue can cause that. I said, no. So the doctor, he was a great doctor and a great surgeon, and he goes, okay, well, we'll give you emergency surgery the next night. And so I just didn't think anything. I just didn't think anything of it. And I had surgery the following day in the evening, late. And then the next morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, with nobody in the room, he walks in and he says to me, "You've got cancer." And I don't believe it, because he had never seen this. They had found a tumor that was this big, a huge tumor in my stomach, but it was a telescopic tumor that would go in and out of the area. So when it went out, it would obstruct my small bowel. When it was in, no one could see it. So it finally came out enough for them to see it and remove it. So he was shocked, and he said, "I've never seen anything like this before. And we don't know what kind of tumor it is. And we're going to have to wait 2 days for the pathology report." So I'm a medical writer by trade. So I had written a lot about cancer. So I realized when you have a stomach tumor, it can be a host of things. Some of it very drastic, like you could be dead in 3 weeks, adenocarcinoma that is in your stomach. Or it could be something that's treatable. So I had 2 days to really think what's going to happen to me. And it was late, it was early May. And the first thing, I was a professor, and I was thinking, oh my God, I want to help my students, with their final projects. And so that was really on my mind. And the other thing on my mind was, if I have 3 weeks left in my life, what do I want to do with those 3 weeks? Well, I don't want to sit there and be a victim. I want to have a good 3 weeks and celebrate that, and reach out to those people who I love and tell them that, and reach out to those people who I didn't particularly care for and get some closure there too. Because I figured, what the heck? So I really made the most out of those, I figured I'll make the most out of those 3 weeks. And that really became part of my whole inspirational message. And we can talk about the solution shift, which I talk about, where instead of worrying about the problem, you think about the solution. For me, I had no control over what kind of cancer it was, but I figured out what I wanted to do for the last 3 weeks of my life, if that was the case. So 2 days later, he comes in and he's again depressed, and he goes, "Well, it's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma." Well, I lit up like a Christmas tree, because I knew there's treatment for that, where other stomach cancers, there's not. So I immediately said, thank you. And as soon as I was discharged from the hospital, I went over to City of Hope, which is in Duarte, in the Southern California area. And I found an amazing specialist, and I got some very heavy-duty immunotherapy treatment, and we were able to take care of the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So that was great. And that actually has a tendency to come back, and they said it will come back, but so far so good, it hasn't come back in that form. So that was my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma experience. So, but the hardest part of that also was telling my daughters and my son. My daughters live out of state, so they weren't quite there with me, but my son was right there, and I had to tell him, and he was so sad. But I said, you know what, we're gonna take care of this, and we're gonna whatever it takes, we're gonna do it together. And he was about 19 at the time. So, or no, actually he was 18. He just enrolled in college. And it was his freshman year, and I could not put him in his dorm because I was getting treatment. But this is what we do. So that's my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma story.
Oh my. Wow.
Wow.
It was pretty intense. It was pretty wild.
And what kind of treatment did you say you got, Lori?
I got Rituxan, which is an immunotherapy drug, and I got 4 rounds of that. And then it had to do with H. pylori, which actually caused the cancer. H. pylori is in our stomach, and in like 6 people, it turns into cancer. It's a very weird thing.
I've had H. pylori before, but I was able to treat it
with antibiotics, right? Those heavy-duty, gross antibiotics. Yeah. Well,
and then I got other things, and then I had to treat that.
It's true. I know. Exactly. But if you leave it untreated because you don't know you have it, and you're prone to cancer, it can turn into non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's rare, and of course, happened to me. But that's why. So that's part of. It's interesting. It's an interesting cancer, totally unrelated to anything else my family had experienced. But it really sobered me up, and I decided to retire from being a professor, and I wanted to start life is short and my dreams are big, and I wanted to become a motivational speaker. So that's what I did. And that's what I do. And it's been a great change.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
And did this experience inspired you to do that?
Yeah, because I've always motivated my students. I've always wanted them to reach for the stars and do the best they can. And while I taught journalism and public relations, I also taught them how to be amazing human beings, and how to not be negative, and how to be positive, and how to go for their dreams. So I knew I had that spark in me, and I decided that I wanted a larger audience. So that's what I did.
Oh, wow.
I'm a big believer on midlife career change, 55. So I still did my marketing business, but I stopped being a professor. And this breast cancer thing, I just dropped my marketing business, and I'm just going to do inspirational stuff. So it's just every time I get cancer, like my career changes, which cracks me up. But yeah, but who knows what's next? But I'll be singing.
You can't be tamed. You're going to do what you're going to do. I love it.
But it's I always look at things as an opportunity. So.
Wow.
Yeah. And Ellen in the comments said, shout out to journalism. Ellen worked at a newspaper with me in New Jersey a number of years ago. So definitely shout out to journalism.
My first job was on a newspaper, the Daily News in Van Nuys, California. And I taught journalism and public relations for 25 years. And I'm a journalism major. So shout out to journalism.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Melody says you walk the talk about positive mindset.
It makes all the difference. There's a thing they call now toxic positivity, where like you're always positive all the time, and it's like toxic. But for me, that's not me. I'm just positive all the time. It's something that is in my core. It's something I practice, and it's really a good practice to have, because when you get hit with things that are really hard, like health problems or financial problems, or things that are just natural to all of us that happen, you've got to have the inner strength and the tools to work through it. And one of the ways you can do that is by practicing positivity, because that arms you for whatever comes your way. And we don't know. I mean, you can imagine ending up in the ER, with this thing, and having this weird ass tumor in your stomach that goes in and out. And it's huge. And they take, that day I was, went to school having a great day. It's an interesting way. Things are wild. So you just have to have that positivity, strength, and core to get through that.
There is that toxic positivity where you just dismiss things, and you just ignore everything, and then you're just like, no, it's going to work out like magic and rainbows. And then there's this true positive quality that is more productive. It's productive positivity. And that's what I see you just exuding, because it is hard to be like, no, I'm not positive, I'm productive. Like, no, but there is this element of, yes, there you go. # productive positivity. It's like positivity done the right way versus toxic positivity, which is like positivity gone bad. So I love that you exude that so much. I'm just spitting wisdoms today. I don't even know how it just is happening. So thank you. But
that's awesome.
I think really, everyone, if you are just now noticing, this woman is just amazing. And we're just gonna just give you all the kudos because you do bring this light of somehow people just, I personally just am like, I feel this beautiful source, and it's like we can all just be our best together. So that's, yeah. But yeah, my goodness. And I do want to have this comment because I think it's very important. I've read that people used to think cancer was contagious and would try to avoid others that had it. I'm so glad we have learned differently.
Tracy, absolutely. It's the culture of cancer. Cancer's been around for a long, I think, for the ages. I think they found it, in primitive people. But it's only in the last couple of decades, where we've actually been able to talk about it and not be afraid of it. I remember when AIDS and HIV there's so many myths surrounding that. And I think COVID had myths when this first came out. People were washing down their Amazon packages, right? I mean, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. So Lori, you were later diagnosed with breast cancer. When did you find out that you had breast cancer? And could you share a bit about that journey with us?
Absolutely. So this is kind of how the universe works. So COVID I got COVID in December 2020, so December 2020. So that was just neither here nor there. Everybody's gotten COVID, but they had to postpone my mammogram in October which was breast cancer month, and I always had it because of COVID. They weren't doing elective mammograms, so they moved it out till February of 2021. So I'm hitting my anniversary, February 12th, 2021, I had my first mammogram, and I just did it like I always do. I didn't think twice about it. Here we are, and they got a new 3D mammogram at the place where I went. So I just didn't think about it. Then I got a call a couple of days later and said, "Could you please repeat? We need to repeat the mammogram." And I still didn't think anything of it. So the next week, December 19th, they repeated it, and then I had an ultrasound. And then I found out that the score I had on the mammogram showed, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but there's a score that they have a mammogram that it was like one of the highest scores you can have. And it was such a high score that it looks like it's going to be cancer no matter what. So they can grade cancers on mammograms. Interestingly enough, I did not know that. So I did some research, and I read that. I said, okay, it looks like I may have breast cancer. So I called City of Hope again, and I got in, and the biopsy was in March. And March 23rd, I got the news that I had breast cancer, a small tumor in my left breast. And the interesting thing was it was a very, very small tumor, like 4 mm's, or even, I don't know, it was just really small. I should have gotten my statistics before I started this podcast, but it was very small. But upon biopsy, they found out that it was incredibly aggressive. So it seems to me that if I had had my mammogram in October, it might not have showed up. But since that's postponed, I got it in February, and they found it. So to me, that was like a miracle and something to be very positive about, because they found it. And also the technology was there, that they knew that how aggressive it was. And because it was aggressive, and because of my family history, even though there wasn't a genetic component, I decided to get a double mastectomy, and along with immediate reconstruction, where they can put silicone implants right away in you, because I was small and you can do that. So on May 3rd, I had a double mastectomy with implants, and that's a very intense procedure. And it's really hard. It's basically amputation. You're amputated, and then you've got these prosthetic things. You have no feeling in your breast anymore. There's no nipple. It's a very intense operation. Luckily, my daughters both came out and helped me. I'm very fortunate with them, and my husband was really helpful. But the thing that's so wild is I had the week after my mastectomy, I had another bowel obstruction because of the scar tissue from my other operation. So I had to deal with that while I still had drains. And so it was a mess, whatever. Then after the mastectomy, I had to have 4 rounds of TC chemotherapy because even though they got the cancer, the tumor out, there was still micro pits of cancer circulating in me, and it would have come up again somewhere else. So I had 4 rounds of very intensive chemo and lost my hair and was very sick. It was really hard, but got through that. And then the final, so I had amputation, and then I had I call it poisoning. They basically poison you with chemo to kill everything, and then slowly the things come back. And then they found out that my cancer was estrogen fueled, and many women have this type of. It's the most common type of breast cancer where estrogen causes it. And even though I had my ovaries out right before they found my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, because of my mother's history, I took them out. You still produce estrogen through your thyroid and through your fat muscles. So I am now on a medication called letrozole, which takes every ounce of estrogen out of me, so that, and I have to take it for 10 years, so that decreases the recurrence of breast cancer. And when breast cancer comes back, it doesn't just come back in the breast, it comes back in your spine, in your liver, in your kidney, in your brain. So it's very dangerous. So I'm very grateful that I can have a medication that can lower those risks. However, the side effects of letrozole are very intense. And if you look it up, it's joint pain, incredible dryness, a lot of cognitive things going on. So I've taken a lot of different supplements to counter that, but I'm really in exercising every day and things that I need to do. But estrogen is like the fountain of youth for women, and to not have any of it is very challenging. And a lot of women say this is more challenging than chemo, and it's something that a lot of people don't talk about. But I'm in some Facebook groups, and it's really wonderful to have that support because people don't realize that's happening. But again, I'm super grateful that there's pills that can decrease that risk, because the risk is huge of it coming back. They have a cancer tumor scale, and mine is very high. So that's where we stand today. So anyway, I finished chemo in August, and it's been almost about 6 months, and I'm feeling terrific. I've really bounced back. I'm feeling good. My hair is coming back. I feel like I'm ready to retake my life, which is what I've been doing. And it just feels so good to feel good that I can't even begin to tell you.
Oh, wow. Yes. And when you were telling us about this a week ago during our pre-interview, like that hit me really hard. Your experience going through your pill that you take, where it's an estrogen blocker, and kind of it took me back to where I was wanting to kind of think how my mom felt going through her experience with breast cancer before her other cancers. But you and I had talked about how you really had to define yourself and your femininity, despite pretty much your body no longer producing estrogen. Like you can't, because your life depends on not producing that anymore. And so how did you grapple that as a woman, reclaiming your femininity and the way that that felt natural and right to you despite all of this?
That's such a great question, Kara. And it's such a hard thing. And we don't talk about this either. But as I said, I underwent an amputation, I underwent poisoning, and now I'm undergoing chemical transformation. So these three things are really, really difficult. And if you think about it, a woman, you're losing your breasts, and that's a whole feminine thing. And then you're losing your hair, which sounds, it's just your hair, you're saving your life. But for many women, it's very traumatic to lose their hair, because that is their crowning glory, as they say. That, you see so much, people do so much, like invest so much money in their hair and product and everything. Hair is important to women. So you lose your breasts, you lose your hair, and then you lose your estrogen. And then you've got to, what do you do? Well, it's what I do with everything, is that, okay, while I have lost so much, I still feel like a woman, and I still think like a woman, though I also think a lot like a man, because I was raised by a very strong dad after my mom died. So I think I'm very balanced in that end. But I really still kind of do feminine things that, like candles and bubble baths and wear, wonderful, sexy things still, to keep all that going, because you are robbed of all that. And it's things that, again, no one warns you about. So you really have to make that effort. You talk to other women who are going through it. You laugh and you cry, and you realize that, yes, I'm alive and I'm happy to be alive, but how can I continue to be happy and live in this new body? And if you think about it, I've got scars all over. I've got my stomach tumor scar that's huge, and I've got the breast cancer scars on the breast. And so it's an interesting challenge to go through.
Oh, wow. Yes. Gender identity is very close to my heart, for sure. I'm part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And so I'm very much for, if you identify as non-binary, you get to define that however you need to, and nobody gets to tell you. And then if you identify as feminine, then you get to define that however you need to. Same with if you identify as male or masculine. If you identify as female and you have masculine qualities or whatever, I love that you said, well, I have a bit of a masculine too, and that you were able to be like, what, I'm just going to embrace that. So that is such an important lesson for people to learn in general, to just deepen themselves in their, however they identify as a human. And even like most so when you're going through something as transformative as, cancer, and you have to go through these treatments to save your life, and you have to redefine that, like who you are. And I love how you're like, yeah, I'm going to, take bubble baths, and I'm going to light candles. That's feminine to me. So thank you so much. And that's so inspiring. It really is.
Thank you. And the thing about, gender identity is, for us, breast cancer survivors, and for, people, prostate cancer for men, all that stuff. There was, I think sometimes your gender identity, when there's no choice, you feel like you don't have a choice because you are who you are inside. So there's that one aspect of who you are and what you do about it. And then there's when it's kind of forced on you to lose something that's so precious. So in both cases, you have to figure out what's the best for you and think outside those boxes to get to your true self.
Yes.
However it comes to you is what you need to do with it, which is why living in the solution is so important.
Yes. Make that a hashtag, Tam, living in the solution.
Living in the solution. I'm
yes,
on it.
That's my brand.
Copyright that. Living in the solution with Lori Baker-Schena.
Sana.
Yes.
Oh my
Melody
gosh.
commented here, we are a spirit living in a physical body, and it sounds like you do live in your spirit. You shine because of it.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a firm believer in we're the spiritual side of us, and our body is basically, we have to honor it, but it's just really a vessel. And when people are I teach that you have to have that inner love. And when you look at yourself, you're so critical of what we look like, it's just almost irrelevant, because it's really what's inside of us. And that can't be taken lightly, because they can take away all of the outer beauty, but we shine in traditional, all that, but we still continue to shine. And that's what's important, because I really strongly believe that that's, and it's just a different way of thinking. I like looking at the world like that. So thank you for that comment.
Yeah.
Yes. And literally just what you said is what a lot of people who are going through their experience as LGBTQ or any other group that feels, just humans in general. And so that's a very human message, very human.
It really is a equalizer, when we all think, just if we're all spiritual and take away the physical component, it really brings us all together.
Yeah.
So true. So true. So Lori, we were talking a little bit earlier about, about children and about, having conversations with children about, when to tell them, how to tell them. And so could you tell us a little bit more how you went about doing that? I know you shared a little bit with us, but could you take us back to that time, how it happened for you, and how and when you decided to share it with your children? And then we'll go from there.
Well, I was lucky because my children were older. And so I think it's a different thing when your children are younger. But I really believe that when we tell our children, we also have to give them the courage to handle it. So the way you tell them is very, very important. So older kids, you can basically be really blunt with them, say, you know what, I'm going to fight like hell, and I'm getting the best care there is. And this is the game plan. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to expect. So there were no surprises. And especially during my chemo, they would call and I'd just be sick. And I said, look, we expected this. So I wanted them to be able to handle that without feeling sad or bad, just like becoming a warrior. Like I felt like a warrior. I wanted them to be warriors too. And they're old enough to give me that support, even though they might've been scared inside,
Right.
getting us all on the same positive page. And preparing them for the worst. We made a ton of jokes, about what happens if I don't make it. That's because my father was a life insurance salesman, so I got a wicked sense of humor from him in terms of that. So that's a whole nother story. But just keeping it light, but letting them know what's happening, but not worrying them too much. And so when you have little ones that you need to tell them that mom is not feeling sick, but mom is going to be okay. And that this is what's happening, and we're getting treatment, and we're gonna fight it, because we're warriors, and you're a warrior too, and you're gonna help mom fight, or you're gonna help dad fight. Now, when you get to the point where you are terminal, I still believe that you need to say, you know what, it's almost time for mom to go to heaven, and this is what I want you to do, and this is what I need from you, and allowing them to feel that grief while you're still there. It's hard for you as a mom or dad, but it for them, when you think about what your legacy is, imprinting on them the positivity and the hope and the courage, that's important too. I mean, it's almost like you have to be selfless when you have cancer, because especially when you have children, because you have to think what's the best thing for them. So for me,
Right.
it's transparency, and then easing them, helping them deal with the emotional aspect of whatever you're going through. And it's hard. I mean, you're scared yourself you're going to die. I mean, you've got all those fears too. But for me, the bigger picture was how I'm going to leave my kids. What legacy do I want to leave them, and where do I need to leave them? So that was really my touchstone of how I dealt with it for the children and my grandkids. I've got young grandkids, so they're all pretty old too. But they said their grandma is going to fight it, and I'm sure I'll be fine. And and I also FaceTimed them when I was bald, and I said, "Yep, this is what grandma looks like." And but I'm going to be okay, and it's going to grow back. I mean, letting them know that you can fall, but you can get back up and get better. Those are really important learning lessons too. And then if you don't get better, it's a good learning lesson too, that life is short and precious, and that we really need to live each day like it's our last. So all these things, as hard as it is for us as parents, there's so many lessons that our children can get from our experience.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I had thanked Lori before the show and in messages before, because during our pre-interview, we were having a conversation about, you guys know, many of you who tune into the show often know that the conversation about whether to tell the kids now that I had cancer, because I'm cancer free, is a conversation that is been on my mind since before the show even started. And after we had the pre-interview with Lori, I decided that day I was going to tell our kids, and I did it that night. So, and it went fine. And the kids were, Megan, our 10-year-old, kind of looked at me like with curiosity, and like, she didn't ask any questions. She asked my wife Joy a question afterwards, and Caitlin, our 7-year-old, I don't think she really had any idea what was going on, but she was fine, and she was just being her normal, silly self. And so I just want to thank you for that, because that was it's been so weighing on my heart and my mind for so long. And I'm so glad I did that. So thank you.
I'm so proud of you for doing it. It's a huge, huge step. And now, though, you've opened up the line of communication. So when they do hear cancer from other people, or they do hear it in the media, they know where they can go. They can go to Dad, who has experience with it, and Dad can tell them what's going on. I mean, it opens up a whole communications channel that you didn't have before. You're now an incredible resource on that for them. Plus the fact that you can tell them that your daddy's a strong warrior, and Daddy beat a badass cancer, and here we are.
Yeah, that's true. And it was like, and the reason that I was holding back was because I didn't want to worry them, especially when I did have cancer. And of course it could come back. Hopefully it won't, right? But now that the lines of communications are open, if it does come back, right, the communication is open, and we can go from there.
Exactly. And you can say, you know what, it came back, but we're going to fight it with all we've got. Daddy beat it once, he'll beat it again. And so that you don't have to like hide being sick or anything, like you can like be sick and don't have to like be underground sick.
Yeah.
Or you can just roll downstairs to the basement with your Showing Up Perspectives on Cancer mug and have no care in the world.
I love that
too. There is that too. Yes.
Dr. Lori called it coming out of cancer. How did you say it? Coming out?
Cancer coming out. Your cancer coming out, coming out for cancer. It's like coming out of the closet. That's it. You're coming out of the closet for cancer. You're not hiding in the closet anymore. You're coming out. It's so great.
You're out of the closet now, Tim.
Out of the closet for cancer.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I love it. So you stated this. You are a professional speaker. and leadership consultant who focuses on helping individuals gain clarity and concrete skills to move their lives forward. What would you say to anyone either experiencing cancer firsthand or as a caregiver or loved one who's having trouble moving forward? What would you say to them?
I think the most important thing you can do for yourself is to remain positive even when it's really hard to be positive, because being negative never moves you forward. It doesn't help you at all. So your choices are to be negative and just be stuck, or be positive and move forward. And so you say to me, how are you positive when you get a diagnosis of you've got cancer? And let me tell you, that's all they all say it now. Like, you've got cancer. There's no running up to it and putting around the bush. They'll tell you. And then you're hit with it. And then you've got this reality, you've got these treatments. And how do you cope with all that? Well, at the end of the day, I fell back on gratitude, because for me, no matter how bad life gets, there's always something to be grateful for at the end of the day. And when I got diagnosed with cancer, I was so happy that I had good insurance. I was very blessed with that. A good doctor, an amazing support network, a cancer that could be treated. There were so many things that I was happy. The fact that they found it in the middle of COVID. And, during my treatments, I couldn't have my husband with me at all. He dropped me off for my family. They dropped me off for my mastectomy. He dropped me off for every chemo. I was alone the whole time.
Wow.
So, so what am I going to be sad about that? So instead of being sad about that, I was made friends with the nurses, and I got to know people that were working there, and that uplifted me, because there was no one else, there was no other support system. So again, everything that's thrown at you, be grateful for the things that you have, and the fact that I could get chemo, and that chemo could help me. So I think when we look at life like that having a gratitude journal and 5 every night, even when things are so bad, I'm always grateful for something. And like, for example, my favorite go-to is I'm grateful for flush toilets. I'm grateful for toilet paper. I'm grateful for buckets. I'm grateful for ice cream. I'm grateful for Trader Joe's ginger mints when I was really sick.
Oh.
There's a lot to be grateful for. And when you wake up feeling grateful that I woke up, the rest really is frosting on the cake.
Yes, definitely.
That's my suggestion. Just do your best to stay positive. Pivot to the positive. There's positives in everything. When I got diagnosed with the Non-Hodgkin's and they said 3 weeks, I might have 3 weeks. A lot of people get hit by a bus or hit by a car, and they don't have those 3 weeks. So I felt grateful that I had 3 weeks. It's all perspective.
Yeah. Wow. My goodness. The amazing Dr. Lori. Here she is. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on. This has just been delightful. You two are just delightful. It's been fun. Mm-hmm. And I love the platform and your professionalism and the podcast. It's so important for people to hear what you cover. It's so important for people to hear this. There's not enough of that. So thank you for it takes a lot of effort to do a podcast. And so thank you for all that you do to help others thrive amidst really challenging times.
Thank you. Because it's moments like this where, we can look back on moments like this and be like, this is why we do it. Sometimes it is overwhelming. Doing this show has been amazing, and it's brought up a lot of trauma for me in ways that I had never expected. Never. And I look back when I'm in my own storm in a fetal position, because sometimes life requires it and then you get back up, right? But in my storm, I think, I look back on these moments and I look back on, this is why we do it. And we all grow, and we're better because of it. And so thank you for being a part of this.
My pleasure.
There you go. Switching tickers. Take it away, Tim.
Yes. I mean, just thank you so much. I mean, we shared before, your presence both during the pre-interview and during the show has both impacted us so much in very different ways. We both have very different perspectives and connections to cancer. But we just appreciate you so much for showing up, for sharing your story, and inspiring us. And thank you all for showing up to support Dr. Lori as well.
Yeah.
So now we're going to gently whift you back into the green room while we wrap up the show. And if you have a few minutes and can hang out, we'd like that.
Yeah.
And we'll be with you in a few minutes. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
There's your face.
Oh, goodness. I don't think I like this view so much.
Hold on.
Is this how we're keeping it, oh, producer?
I'm lagging. Hold on. It's on Duo. I'm trying.
Yes. Thank you for trying.
Oh,
you're doing
there you
awesome.
go.
Here we are. Yes. Oh my
Feel
gosh.
better, Tim?
Yes, I feel much better. Thank you. Thank you, Kara.
Oh, man. Yes.
What a conversation. How about, why don't we go over to the comments? There's a bunch of comments that came in like in the last few minutes. Does that sound good to you?
Definitely. And I'm also just throwing that out there on the ticker. How do you need support? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, definitely let us know. Good question.
So we have great attitudes from Alexandra McCarthy.
Hey, Alexandra, thanks for being here.
Yes, I'm grateful for every day, as says Tracy Leanne Price. I'm grateful for my family and friends. I'm grateful for my healthy body. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, good. It's the little things, right?
Yes. Melody says, I'm grateful for the gift of a new day each and every day. Kenny D, is he out of jail? But there's no picture.
He created a new LinkedIn account.
Should we say that? Is LinkedIn going to take him back in jail? Put him
I'm
back
sure
in
they
jail?
realized it already.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Also, it's too late. Sorry, Kenny D. We love you.
Called you out. We love you. Oh my gosh. Oh, what is up with I'm lagging. Thank you for sharing your story and wisdom. Oh, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Dr.
Is it okay?
Hey,
so, is it Diesel, Dr. Diesel Johnson? Thank you so much.
Yes, let us know in the comments phonetically how that works.
It's Kara, not Kara or Kara. So I'm very sensitive to that. It's not me being funny. It's me understanding that, sometimes people don't like to be called Kara.
Right.
And Alexandria, hey there. What is up with my lagging? Okay. Hey, Familia. Hey, you. Hello. Ellen says you are a beautiful lady, and side note. And Melody, oh, I love this. All three of you are great beacons of hope and light. Thank you. Damn straight. Kara got right. You, Tim.
I agree.
Giselle.
Yes.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Thanks.
Conversations
Nancy.
that create connection. Hey, Nancy Lewis Hill.
Thanks for being here. You snuck in. I'm glad you snuck in.
Look at that.
Thanks for being here. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just lagging all over the place tonight. And
You're good.
would you like to be a guest on the show or know someone who might want to? DM Tam or Kara directly.
Yes. Do that. Let us know. If you have a cancer connection perspective. Did I say that right? I haven't been drinking wine, I swear. Yeah. Okay. Moving on.
Are we still asking for team members? Are you still needing team members?
Not really, but I'll just briefly mention on March 8th to 9th, there's going to be a 24-hour virtual event that is going to happen here and across multiple live streamers shows and not shows. Stay tuned for details. It's a fundraiser for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's Man and Woman of the Year philanthropic competition. So stay tuned for details. Super excited. Kara's on my team and a whole bunch of other people, and it's going to be so good.
Say philanthropic competition 3 times fast.
Philanthropic competition 3 times fast. Philanthropic competition 3 times fast. Philanthropic competition 3 times fast.
Love it.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the deal. What's going on with that? Lots of work to do, but it's going to be so good.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so that's the deal with that. And we also have a guest coming up for next week.
Yes, we do.
Right, bestie?
Yes, we do. Hold on. Let me pull this up real quick.
Ooh. We have
James Patrone.
James Patrone.
Coffee,
Yes.
Metal, and the Spiritual as a cancer battler supporter.
Well, there you go. There's a title. Yes. We're looking
Sounds
forward
like a memoir in the making, honestly.
Definitely. So we're excited to have him on the show next week. Had a great pre-interview with him this week. And yeah, he has lots to share, including he writes poetry.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool. But many other perspectives as well.
Yes.
His stepdad passed of cancer, as well as his grandfather. So those are his connections. But so looking forward to that conversation next time.
Definitely.
Right, bestie?
Most definitely. And as always, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you so much. So
we do. We love you. Had to get it in there.
That's cute. Just leaning into that microphone.
Love.
With the booze.
Love.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys. And we will see you next time.
Bye.